My name is Wilda Watson. I'm 32 years old. Last week, my father pointed at my bedroom door and said coldly, "Vacate the room right now, Wilda. Your older brother Connor and his pregnant wife Brittany need it." Brittany stepped forward, one hand rubbing her belly, looked me up and down with pure disgust and said, "Honestly, it would be better if you left the house completely. We don't need you here anymore. You're just a burden taking up space." My mother stood there silently, staring at the floor. Not a single word of defense. My own family threw me out like trash. I packed my bags without arguing and left. 2 days later, Brittany called me, voice shaking and hysterical. "It's not true. Please tell me you didn't send those papers." I sent them. What they didn't know was that they hadn't just kicked out their sister. They had evicted the real owner of the entire house. And that one registered letter was about to destroy everything they thought they owned. This is the moment the invisible daughter finally fought back. Before I go on, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop a comment and let me know. Where are you watching from right now? And what time is it there? If you've ever been erased or treated like a burden by your own family. Stay with me. This gets a lot worse before it gets better. Growing up, the pattern was always the same. Connor could do no wrong. I was the responsible one. The one who didn't need attention. The one whose achievements were expected, not celebrated. When I was 19, working my way through college with a work-study job, I took the bus. Every day. $96 a month for that bus pass. Connor needed a car for his internship, Dad said. Connor got a used 2009 Toyota Camry for $8,500. I got more bus tokens. Their college funds told the whole story. Connor's, $85,000. Saved since the day he was born. Mine, $12,000. Started when I was 14. When I asked why, Mom said they'd had more financial stability when Connor was young. The math didn't add up, but I stopped asking. Connor lived at home until he was 26. Never paid rent. Never paid for groceries. When he finally moved out, Mom cried like he was going to war. When I moved back after college to save money, they charged me $600 a month. Over 7 years, I paid $50,400 to live in what I thought was my parents' house. "You make good money now," Mom said when I offered to help with groceries. Connor's still finding himself. Connor was 33, but someone was watching all of this. Grandma Dorothy, my mother's mother. She lived with us from 2015 until she died in 2018. She had a wheelchair stationed in the corner of the living room, and she saw everything. In 2017, she pulled me aside one afternoon. Her hands were thin, spotted with age. "Your mother is my daughter, and I love her," she said. "But she's making a mistake with you. I won't let you pay for it forever." I didn't understand what she meant. One humid August afternoon in 2017, Grandma Dorothy called me into the living room while everyone else was at Connor's softball game. She was sitting in her wheelchair by the window, sunlight catching the silver in her hair. She took my hand and placed a small silver locket into my palm. Inside was a tiny photo of her and me when I was 5. "Your mother was once the quiet daughter too," she whispered. "My husband favored your uncle so much it nearly broke her. I won't let history repeat itself with you." Her voice was frail but steady. "Sometimes the quietest ones need the loudest protection." I wore that locket under my shirt for the next 8 years. Even after she passed, I never took it off. It became my silent reminder that someone, at least, had truly seen me. She died 6 months later. At the funeral, Connor cried loudly, big, heaving sobs that everyone noticed. I held Mom's hand. Nobody mentioned Grandma's will. I didn't know there was one that mattered. Then, 2 years ago, everything changed. A letter arrived. Cream-colored envelope. Heavy paper. Pierce & Associates law firm. The address line had my name. Only my name. It was May 12th, 2023. I was 30 years and 1 week old. The letter was formal, typed on letterhead. Dear Ms. Watson, per the irrevocable trust established by Dorothy Campbell in 2008, ownership of the property located at 418 Meadowbrook Lane transfers to you effective your 30th birthday. Please contact our office to complete the transfer documents. I read it 3 times. My house? I called the number. A man answered on the second ring. Nathan Pierce. I received a letter about a property transfer. Ms. Watson, I've been waiting for this call for 15 years. We met 6 days later at his office on Main Street. 3rd floor, oak desk, 2 leather chairs. Nathan Pierce was 56, gray at the temples, and he slid a folder across the desk like he'd been holding it his whole career. Your grandmother purchased this house in 1998, he said. $125,000, paid in full with the inheritance from her husband. It was always her house, not your parents'. I stared at the deed. Dorothy Campbell, September 1998. She gave your parents what's called a life estate, Nathan continued. They have the right to live there until they both pass away, but they can't sell it. They can't refinance it. They never owned it. And when you turned 30, full ownership transferred to you. The handwritten note was on page 18 of the trust documents. Grandma's shaky writing. My daughter Linda is a good woman, but she has a blind spot when it comes to her son. Wilda will need protection from that. Written in 2008. I was 15 years old. Do my parents know I own it now? I asked. Nathan shook his head. Dorothy specifically requested they not be informed. The deed is public record. Anyone can search it. But most people never check. She said if they knew, they'd find a way to pressure you into giving it to Connor. I sat with that. My grandmother had seen it all. The favoritism, the inequality, the golden child syndrome, and she'd spent her last years building a legal wall to protect me. So they think they still own their house? I said. I sat in my car outside Nathan's office for 20 minutes, engine running, staring at the cream-colored folder on the passenger seat. A strange mix of rage and relief washed over me. For 3 years, my parents had been living in my house, collecting rent from me, while praising Connor for helping the family. The irony was almost funny if it wasn't so painful. I called Jordan. You're not going to believe this, I said, my voice shaking. After I explained, she was quiet for a long moment. Wilda, this is huge, but you have to be careful. If they find out you own it now, they'll try to guilt you into signing it over. I know, I replied. That's why I'm not telling them. Not yet. I want to watch. I want to see how they treat me when they think they still have all the power. Yes, and that's not the only thing I need to tell you. Nathan pulled out another folder. The bank logo on the top page made my stomach drop. There's a complication. In 2020, your parents took out a home equity line of credit against the property, $85,000. How? They don't own. The bank didn't verify current ownership. They saw Wilda Watson on old records and approved it. Your parents thought they owned the house. They weren't trying to commit fraud. They just took out a loan on what they believed was theirs. Where did the money go? Nathan's jaw tightened. According to the loan application, business investment for son. The room tilted slightly. $85,000. Given to Connor. For a business that never existed. The monthly payment is $1,825, Nathan said. If you don't pay it, the bank can foreclose. It's your house now, Wilda. Their debt became yours the day you signed that deed. I sat back in the chair. My house. My responsibility. Connor's benefit. Story of my life. What do you want to do? Nathan asked. I thought about the Camry, the college funds, the rent I'd paid. The $50,400 over 7 years. I'm going to keep paying it, I said. I'm not going to tell them I own the house. I want to see what happens. How they treat me when they think they're in control. Nathan studied me. That's a long game. I've been playing it my whole life, I said. I just didn't know the rules until now. For 2 years, I paid $1,825 every month. I fixed the water heater when it broke in January 2024. I updated the homeowner's insurance policy. I made sure the property taxes went to the county on time. All of it quietly. All of it invisibly. The payments became a monthly ritual of quiet resentment. In July 2024, I sat through Connor's 34th birthday party in the backyard. Balloons, a 3-tier cake, and Dad grilling steaks while loudly announcing how Connor has really stepped up for the family. I was handed a paper plate and told to help in the kitchen. In January 2025, the water heater burst at 2 in the morning. I woke to the sound of rushing water, quietly called a plumber at 3 a.m., and paid $1,800 cash so my parents wouldn't worry. The next morning, Dad patted me on the shoulder and said, "Good thing the insurance covered it, huh?" I just smiled. Every month, I transferred the HELOC payment before the due date, then stared at my savings account slowly shrinking. I kept a secret spreadsheet titled, "What I'm Really Paying For." By November 2025, it showed $32,850. I would lie awake some nights wondering how much longer I could keep playing this long game, and I watched them treat me like I was the burden. The whole time, they were living in my house, and I was paying off their debt to my brother. My parents thought they were still making the HELOC payments themselves. Connor told everyone at family dinners, at Christmas, in casual conversation, that he'd been helping Mom and Dad financially, taking care of them, being the good son. 18 months, from June 2023 to November 2025. $32,850. Every cent came from my checking account. Connor contributed nothing. And then, on November 5th, 2025, he came home. I pulled into the driveway at 7:13 p.m. Tuesday. The sky was already dark. Connor's black 2019 Ford F-150 was parked in my spot. 4 large suitcases sat on the porch, 2 carry-ons, boxes stacked in the truck bed. Inside, my parents sat at the round oak kitchen table with Connor and a woman I'd seen in photos. Brittany, blonde, 28, one hand resting on a rounded belly under a loose sweater. My usual seat was taken. I stood. Dad stood first. "Wilda, sit down. We need to discuss living arrangements. Connor and Brittany are going through a rough patch with their apartment. The lease fell through. They'll be staying here for a while." "Temporary," Mom added, not looking at me. Brittany's hand moved in slow circles over her stomach. "We really appreciate the family support during this time," she said. Her voice was sweet, practiced. 5 months pregnant, she'd told everyone on Facebook. I'd seen the posts, the ultrasound photo, the gender reveal speculation, but something about the shape of her belly looked wrong. Too round, too symmetrical, like a prop. 2 days later, Thursday morning, I was drinking coffee before work when Dad appeared in the doorway. 6:30 a.m. "We need to talk," he said. Connor and Brittany stood in the hallway behind him. "This is hard to say," Dad started. "But Connor and Brittany need more space. The guest room isn't working. We think it's best if they take your room." "My room?" "You have your own bathroom," Brittany said, stepping forward. Not asking, stating. "The natural light is better for the baby's development. Your father said you'd understand." I looked at Mom. She was looking at the floor. "It's just temporary, Wilda," Dad said. But Connor was already carrying boxes upstairs, to my room. By Thursday evening, it had escalated. Dad pointed at my bedroom door. Vacate the room right now, Wilda. Your older brother Connor and his pregnant wife Brittany need it. Brittany stepped forward, one hand rubbing her belly, looked me up and down with pure disgust. Honestly, it would be better if you left the house completely. We don't need you here anymore. You're just a burden taking up space. Mom stood by the window, staring at the floor, silent. My own family threw me out like trash. I called my best friend Jordan Mills. She came over Friday evening and helped me pack. We didn't speak much. She knew the history. She'd heard me talk about Connor for years. As I carried the last box to my car, Brittany appeared in the doorway. "This is better for everyone," she said. Her coat was open. Her hand was on her belly again, and the belly didn't move. Not the way a real pregnancy shifts when you walk. It sat there. Perfect. Round. Still. I drove away from 418 Meadowbrook Lane, from my house. Because they didn't know it was mine. I drove straight to Jordan's apartment. The moment she opened the door, I broke down. The first real tears I'd cried in years. She pulled me into a hug without saying anything. We sat on her couch until midnight while I told her everything. "You don't owe them your silence anymore," she said firmly. "Start documenting. Everything." That night, I created a hidden folder on my laptop. I began saving screenshots of Brittany's pregnancy posts, old text messages where Connor bragged about helping mom and dad, and every bank statement. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just enduring, I was preparing, and I wanted to see exactly what they would do. 3 days later, November 12th, 2025, the mail forwarding service caught a letter. First National Bank of Pennsylvania, Lancaster Branch, addressed to Wilda Watson, regarding recent refinance activity. Thank you for choosing First National for your refinancing needs. Your new loan amount of $220,000 has been processed. Monthly payments of $1,685 will begin December 1st, 2025. I hadn't refinanced anything. I called the bank. 7 minutes of hold music. Then a woman's voice. "Mrs. Watson, we show your signature on all documents. Notarized October 12th. I went to the bank in person the next day. Friday, 2:30 p.m. Claire Reynolds was the fraud investigator. 41. Sharp eyes. She studied the signature under a lamp at her desk. "This isn't even close," she said. "Your real signature is on file from when you updated the deed in 2023. This one," she pointed. "The loop on the W is wrong, the slant is wrong. Someone traced your signature and did a poor job." 18 pages, 5 forged signatures, all notarized by Beverly Hutchins, a legitimate notary in Lancaster. "I'll need to speak with Ms. Hutchins," Claire said. The statement came back 2 days later. Beverly had notarized the documents in good faith. A woman had presented an ID showing the name Wilda Watson. Beverly checked the photo. It matched the woman in front of her. She stamped it. The woman was Brittany. Fake ID, Wilda Watson. Brittany's photo. "Where did the money go?" I asked Claire. She pulled up the transaction record on her screen. October 16th, 2025. 1 day after the loan funded. Wire transfer, $220,000. Recipient, Connor Watson. I sat in my car outside the bank. The parking lot was half empty. A cold wind rattled the windows. Connor had stolen $220,000 from my house using my name. I pulled out my phone and called Troy Hendricks, Connor's supposed business partner. The number was in an old text thread from a family barbecue 2 years ago. Troy answered on the 4th ring. "Yeah? This is Wilda Watson, Connor's sister." "Oh, hey." He sounded confused. "Connor said you two were starting a business. I wanted to ask about the timeline." Troy laughed. Actually laughed. "Business? Connor told you we were starting a business. Lady, Connor owes me 12 grand from a poker game. He hasn't answered my calls in 4 months. There's no business. I sat in the bank parking lot scrolling through Brittany's Instagram. Story after story. New designer bags. A professional ring light setup. A $1,200 espresso machine with the caption, "Hubby spoils me rotten." In just 3 weeks, she'd spent over $65,000. I pulled up the Coinbase records Claire had quietly sent me. On October 17th, Connor bought $89,000 worth of Bitcoin. By November 2nd, he'd sold at a 40% loss, right when the market crashed. The remaining money had gone to pay off his truck loan and their lavish courthouse wedding. My hands were shaking. Not just from anger, but from the chilling realization that Brittany had walked into a notary's office with a fake ID bearing my name and her photo, and no one had questioned it. I hung up. $220,000. I pulled Connor's Instagram. The photos told the story. October 17th. Making moves in the crypto space. Fortune favors the bold. October 29th. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. On to the next opportunity. Translation. He'd lost it. The Coinbase transaction records I later obtained showed he'd bought Bitcoin on October 17th for $89,000. Sold it November 2nd at a 40% loss. Brittany's Instagram was worse. Designer bags, shoes, a ring light for content creation. $65,000 in 2 months. All tagged with brand names. All bought with my money. The truck loan payoff. $35,000. Connor had been upside down on his 2019 F-150 for 2 years. The wedding in June, $18,000. Courthouse ceremony plus a reception at a vineyard. 45 guests. What was left? $13,000. Sitting in a joint checking account. Depleting fast. Connor had burned through $220,000 in 3 weeks. And now he was living in my house, sleeping in my bedroom, while his wife wore a fake pregnancy belly and called me a burden. I sat in Jordan's apartment that night. Her couch, a blanket, my phone on the coffee table. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I looked at the folders I'd started building. Bank statements, property deed, notary affidavit, Instagram screenshots, wire transfer confirmations. "I'm going to build a case," I said. November 13th through December 31st. 52 days. I stayed at Jordan's place. She had a spare room. Refused to let me pay rent. "You've paid enough rent in your life," she said. Every evening, I organized evidence on her dining table. 8 folders. Property ownership. Bank fraud. HELOC payment history. Notary fraud. Crypto losses. Luxury purchases. Text messages. Parents' HELOC application. 173 pages of documentation. Dated. Sourced. Verified. Claire Reynolds called on December 3rd. "We're ready to file charges," she said. "Bank fraud, identity theft, forgery. Your brother and his wife are going to be arrested. Can you wait?" "Until when?" "Until after Christmas." Silence on the line, then. "Why?" "I want them to feel safe first." On December 20th, Mom called. 7:45 p.m. I was at Jordan's, watching TV. "Wilda, honey, we're doing Christmas at the house this year. Connor and Brittany want to host. Can I come?" Silence. Long enough that I checked to see if the call had dropped. "It's complicated," Mom finally said. "Brittany is very stressed with the pregnancy. She doesn't want any tension." "I'm your daughter." "You're always my daughter, but Connor is having a baby. This Christmas is about that." 23 people, extended family, neighbors, friends. Christmas dinner at 418 Meadowbrook Lane, my house, without me. I hung up and called Nathan Pierce. "I'm ready," I said. The Instagram post appeared on December 26th. My cousin Ashley, a nurse at Lancaster General, 33, tech-savvy, texted me a screenshot. Photo. Connor at the head of the table, arm around Dad. Glass raised. Big smile. Caption from Brittany's account. Blessed to have a husband who takes care of family. Hashtag family first, hashtag blessed. Ashley's message. Your brother is so generous. He told us he's been covering expenses for your parents for over a year. They're so lucky to have him. Covering expenses. I logged into my parents' bank account. They'd added me as a joint holder in 2019 when Dad had a heart scare. Just in case, Mom had said. 24 months of history. Deposits. Dad's pension, $2,100 a month. Mom's part-time library paycheck, $890. HELOC payments after June 2023. None, because I'd taken them over. Deposits from Connor. 0. I called my mother. Did Connor really pay your mortgage? I asked. She sounded confused. Honey, we don't have a mortgage. The house has been paid off since your grandma bought it in 1998. My chest tightened. They didn't even know the full picture. What about the HELOC? I asked. Silence. How do you know about that? Answer the question, Mom. Her voice got quiet. Connor's been handling that. $1,800 a month. We couldn't afford it after Dad retired. Connor saved us. Connor saved them. With my money. $1,825 times 18 months. $32,850. I'd paid their debt while Connor took the credit. The debt they'd created in 2020 when they gave him $85,000 for a business that never existed. I looked at my phone. December 26th. The day after they'd celebrated without me. The day after Connor had toasted to family and taken care of his parents. I picked up the phone and called Nathan Pierce. Let's send the letters. January 2nd, 2026. 10 a.m. Nathan's office. I brought all 8 folders. He reviewed them for 40 minutes without speaking. When he finally looked up, he removed his glasses. Wilda, this is one of the most clear-cut cases of mortgage fraud I've seen in 30 years. Your brother and his wife are going to face serious criminal charges. I know. He prepared 5 certified letters. Letter 1, to Connor and Brittany Watson. Property ownership proof. Copy of deed, showing Wilda Watson as owner since June 2023. Refinance fraud evidence with forged signature analysis. Letter 2, to Dennis and Linda Watson. Complete truth about property ownership. Grandma's trust timeline. Life estate explanation. Notice of Connor's eviction. Revelation that Wilda has paid HELOC since June 2023. Letter 3, to Connor and Brittany Watson. Official 30-day eviction notice. Effective February 4th, 2026. Letter 4, to Connor Watson. Demand for repayment of $220,000. Letter 5, to First National Bank. Copy of police report and fraud documentation. When do you want this sent? Nathan asked. I looked at the calendar on his wall. January 3rd. Friday. They'd get the letters Saturday. Spend all weekend panicking. Couldn't call a lawyer until Monday. Tomorrow morning, I said. First thing. January 3rd, 2026. 9:15 a.m. Main Street Post Office. 5 certified envelopes, each requiring signature, each tracked. The postal workers scanned them one by one. These all going to the same address? 4-to-1 address, I said. 1 to the bank. She printed the receipts. Someone's not going to have a good weekend. I tracked the packages every hour. 10 a.m., in transit. 1 p.m., out for delivery. 3:47 p.m., delivered. Signature received. Connor Watson. He'd signed for his own eviction notice. For documentation proving he'd stolen $220,000 from his sister. For evidence that would destroy his marriage, his reputation, and any claim to the moral high ground he'd occupied his entire life. I turned off my phone. Jordan asked me that evening, "Do you feel bad?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. They kicked me out of my own house, stole $200,000 using my name, lied to my parents about paying bills, excluded me from Christmas, treated me like I was nothing. My phone was face down on the counter, silent. "No," I said. "I feel ready." The calls started Saturday evening. When I finally turned my phone back on Sunday morning, I had 15 missed calls. Connor, 6. Brittany, 4. Dad, 3. Mom, 2. 23 text messages. The tone escalated with each one. Connor, 4:32 p.m. Saturday. Call me. Connor, 5:18 p.m. What the hell is this? Connor, 6:03 p.m. You're insane. These documents are fake. Brittany, 7:41 p.m. Please call me. Brittany, 8:15 p.m. We can explain everything. Brittany, 9:52 p.m. Connor says you're lying. This is illegal. Dad, 10:30 p.m. Wilda, I don't understand what's happening. Call me. Sunday, January 5th, 11:23 p.m. My phone rang. Brittany. I let it ring 4 times. Then I answered. "Hello, Brittany." Her voice cracked immediately. "Wilda, please. Please tell me you didn't actually send those letters. Connor says it's fraud. You're lying. The house belongs to your parents. You can't evict us." I let the silence stretch. 3 seconds. 4. 5. Brittany, which letter are you most worried about? The property deed proving I own the house? The notary's statement proving you impersonated me? Or the police report I filed for bank fraud? Background noise. Connor's voice, yelling something I couldn't make out. A door slamming. "How did you know?" Her voice was smaller now. "I've always known. The house has been mine for 2.5 years. I just wanted to see what you'd do. Your parents said you're crazy. They said you're making this up to get revenge." I heard Connor in the background. "Let me talk to her." Brittany's voice dropped to nearly a whisper. "Connor wants to—" "No," I said. Silence. Then she tried bargaining. "We can pay you back. Connor has a plan. He's talking to investors." Brittany, Connor lost $89,000 in cryptocurrency 2 months ago. He owes a man named Troy Hendricks $12,000 from a poker game. He burned through the $85,000 my parents gave him in 2020. What investors? Her breath caught. "How do you know about Troy?" "I know everything. The crypto losses, the gambling debt, the designer bags you bought with my money, the fake ID you used at the notary's office, the stock photo ultrasound you posted on Instagram in November." "You don't understand." She was crying now. "Connor said this was all going to work out. He said your parents would give us the house eventually. He said you'd never fight back because you never do." "I didn't fight back," I said. "I built a case." "There's a difference. What do you want?" "I want you out of my house in 30 days. I want $220,000 returned. I want you to tell my parents the complete truth. And I want you to never use my name again." "Connor will never agree." "Connor doesn't have a choice. Neither do you. The police report is filed. The bank is investigating. Your options are leave quietly or leave in handcuffs." "What about your parents? Where will they go?" "They can stay. It's my house. I decide who lives here. Not Connor. Me." I hung up. 30 seconds later, Dad called. Then Mom. Then Connor. 16 calls in 40 minutes. At 12:15 a.m., I sent one text to my father. "I'll be at the house Wednesday at 2 p.m. with my lawyer. We can discuss this then." Then I turned off my phone again. January 8th, 2026. 2:03 p.m. I arrived at 418 Meadowbrook Lane with Nathan Pierce, 3 minutes late, on purpose. Dad opened the door. His face was gray, tired. He held one of the letters in his hand. "Wilda, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this letter says you own our house. That's impossible. We've lived here since. Nathan stepped forward, extended his hand. Mr. Watson, I'm Nathan Pierce, your mother-in-law Dorothy's attorney, and now your daughter's attorney. May we come in? I can explain everything. We sat in the living room. The afternoon light came through the east windows. The same windows I'd looked through as a child, as a teenager, as an adult paying rent in my own house. Dennis sat in his chair, the letter still in his hand. Linda stood by the window, pale, arms crossed. Connor paced near the fireplace. Brittany sat on the couch, one hand on her belly, watching everything with calculating eyes. Nathan placed his briefcase on the coffee table. Connor stopped pacing. Whatever she told you is a lie. This house belongs to my parents. Wilda forged these documents. She's trying to steal. Nathan opened the briefcase. Mr. Watson, please sit down. Your parents need to hear this, and you need to be sitting when you do. Connor sat. Nathan slid the deed across the table to my father. This is the recorded property deed for 418 Meadowbrook Lane, filed June 5, 2023. The legal owner is Wilda Campbell Watson. Not you, Mr. Watson. Not you, Mrs. Watson. Your mother Dorothy purchased this house in 1998 with her own inheritance money and placed it in an irrevocable trust for Wilda. Created in 2008. Mom's hand went to her mouth. What? That's... Mom never said... Dorothy gave you a life estate, Nathan continued. You have the right to live here until you both pass away, but you never owned it. And when Wilda turned 30, full ownership transferred to her. Dad's hands shook as he read the deed. Mom sat down heavily in the nearest chair. But we've lived here 40 years. Dad's voice cracked. Why didn't Mom tell us? Mom whispered. Nathan's voice was gentle, but firm. Dorothy wanted to protect Wilda. She saw the family dynamics. She knew what might happen. Dennis looked at me. Did you know? I met his eyes. I've known since I turned 30, almost 3 years ago. Linda's voice rose. You've owned this house for 3 years? And you didn't tell us? You kicked me out of my own house 3 months ago, I said. You told me I was a burden taking up space, in my house. Why would I tell you? Mom looked away. Dad stared at the deed like it was written in a foreign language. Connor's face was white. Wait, you've owned this since 2023? The realization was hitting him. The refinance. The forged signatures. He hadn't just committed fraud against his parents. He'd committed fraud against me. Nathan pulled out the second folder. There's more. In 2020, Mr. and Mrs. Watson, you took out a home equity line of credit against this property. $85,000. Dad nodded slowly. Yes. We needed to help Connor with a business opportunity, but Connor's been paying that back. He's been making the payments since last year. No, Nathan said. He hasn't. Wilda has. He spread the bank statements across the table. 18 months, June 2023 through November 2025. Every payment, $1,825. Every payment from Wilda's checking account. Parents' bank account. No HELOC payments after June 2023. Connor's bank account. No HELOC payments ever. $32,850 total, Nathan said. While Connor told you he was paying it. Mom's voice was barely audible. That's not possible. Connor said. Dad turned to Connor. His voice cracked. Connor, you told us you were handling this. Connor's jaw clenched, red-faced, silent. Connor? Dad asked again. Is this true? You weren't paying? You let your sister pay our debt? The debt we took on for you? I was going to pay it back, Connor said. With what money? I said. It was the first time I'd spoken since sitting down. The $220,000 you stole from me last October? Nathan laid out the refinance documents, the forged signatures, the notary statement from Beverly Hutchins, the fake ID, the wire transfer to Connor's account one day after the loan funded, the crypto transaction records showing $89,000 lost, the Instagram screenshots showing Brittany's $65,000 in luxury purchases, the truck loan payoff, the wedding expenses, everything. Connor stood up. This is a setup. Dad, Mom, she's setting me up because she's jealous. Nathan kept his voice level. Mr. Watson, we have bank security footage from the notary appointment. Your wife presented a fake ID with Wilda's name and her own photo. That's identity theft. That's fraud. The police report has been filed. Brittany made a small sound, almost a whimper. Dad stood, walked to the window, turned his back to the room. Connor, he said. His voice was quiet, empty. Did you take out a loan on this house? Connor looked at Brittany. She looked at the floor. Yes, Connor said. Did you take the money? Yes. Did you lose it? Silence. Yes. Dad didn't turn around. His shoulders slumped. Mom was crying. Quiet tears. Tissue in her hand. Nathan gathered the papers. Connor and Brittany, you have 30 days to vacate the property. Mr. and Mrs. Watson, you're welcome to stay. This is Wilda's house, and she's offered to let you remain. But the terms will be different. Connor's voice was raw. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my concern, Nathan said. You should be more worried about the criminal charges. We left. As I walked to my car, I heard shouting from inside. Connor's voice, Dad's voice, the sound of something breaking. I got in the car. Nathan got in the passenger side. How do you feel? He asked. Like I can breathe for the first time in 32 years. February 15th, 2026. Saturday, 3 p.m. Dad's 63rd birthday party. Aunt Diane, my father's sister, had called me 2 weeks earlier. Wilda, I haven't seen you since Thanksgiving. Your mother said you've been busy with work. You're coming to your dad's party, right? She had no idea what had happened. The extended family had been kept in the dark. I arrived at 3:15 p.m., fashionably late, intentionally. 23 people filled the house. My house. Aunt Diane, Uncle Jerry, cousins Ashley, Rachel, Stephen with their spouses, 4 children running around, the Hendersons from next door, Grandpa Watson, 88, sitting in the corner, and Connor and Brittany, still there. The eviction date had been pushed to February 28th through a court agreement while they looked for an apartment. They sat on the couch, trying to act normal. Connor saw me. His face went white. Brittany whispered something to Mom. Mom wouldn't look at me. Aunt Diane hugged me at the door. It's so good to see you. I hugged her back, smiled, walked into my living room. Connor's cousin Stephen asked him, So when's the baby due, Brittany? Brittany's hand went to her belly. Automatic. April. Connor added quickly, We should probably go soon, babe. You need rest. I set down my water glass on the mantel. Actually, I said, before anyone leaves, I have something everyone should know. The room went quiet. 23 pairs of eyes turned to me. I want everyone here to know something. This house, 418 Meadowbrook Lane, has been legally mine since June 2023. My grandmother Dorothy left it to me in a trust created when I was 15. My parents never owned it. They have a life estate, which means they can live here until they die. But the house was always Grandma's, and she left it to me. Aunt Diane's hand went to her mouth. Wilda, what are you? I kept going. 3 months ago, Connor and Brittany told me to leave. They said I was a burden. They took my bedroom. They made it very clear I wasn't welcome in my own house. And then, in October, Connor refinanced my house without my permission, forged my signature, stole $220,000. I pulled the property deed from my purse, held it up. This is public record. Anyone can verify it at the county clerk's office. My name, my house. Since 2023. Uncle Jerry looked at Dennis. Dennis, is this true? Dad's voice was barely audible. We didn't know Dorothy left it to Wilda. We thought it was ours. Connor said he was helping us with the payments. Aunt Diane looked confused. Payments? I thought the house was paid off. If it was, I said. Until my parents took out an $85,000 line of credit in 2020 and gave all of it to Connor. The monthly payment is $1825. Connor told everyone he'd been paying it. He lied. I've been paying it. For 18 months. While he took credit. The room erupted in whispers. Gasps. Someone's child started asking questions their mother couldn't answer. Then Carol Walsh stood up. I hadn't even seen her in the back corner. Brittany's mother. Invited by Linda before any of this drama started. Brittany. Her voice cut through the noise. Enough. If Wilda is lying about the house, then prove her wrong. Show everyone the ultrasound. Show them you're really pregnant. Brittany's face flushed. I don't have it with me, Mom. Ashley was already on her phone. My cousin. The nurse. 33. Sharp. You posted one on Instagram in November, Ashley said. She tapped her screen, held it up. But reverse image search shows this exact image on babycenter.com. Stock photo from 2019. People leaned in to look at Ashley's phone. You said 5 months in November, Ashley continued, then almost 7 months at Christmas. Now you're saying due in April, which would make you 8 months. November to February is 3 months. The math doesn't work. Brittany stood. This is ridiculous. I don't have to prove anything. Carol Walsh walked across the room, stopped directly in front of her daughter. Stand up. Mom, don't. Stand up. Brittany stood. Her coat fell open. Carol reached out, touched her daughter's belly, pressed firmly, felt the silicone prop through the dress fabric. Carol's face went from confusion to disbelief to fury in 3 seconds. That's not a pregnancy, she said. That's a fake belly. The room exploded. Voices overlapping. Gasps. Aunt Diane's hand covering her mouth. Uncle Jerry standing up. Grandpa Watson asking what was happening. Someone's child started crying. Carol Walsh's voice cut through everything. Take it off. Right now. Take off that fake belly in front of everyone. Brittany looked at Connor. Connor looked at the door. Brittany ran. Down the hall. The bathroom door slammed. The room erupted into chaos. Aunt Diane hugged me tightly, whispering I had no idea through tears. Uncle Jerry stood up and confronted Dad directly. You let this happen in your own house? Grandpa Watson kept asking what was going on while Carol Walsh dragged Brittany into the bathroom. I stepped outside onto the porch. The cold January air hitting my face. From inside, I could hear Connor shouting, Dad's low, angry voice, and the sound of something glass shattering. I looked out at the backyard where I'd spent so many silent birthdays and felt something heavy finally lift from my chest. It wasn't joy. It was clarity. The long game was over. Now came the consequences. She didn't come out. The divorce papers were filed March 10th, 2026. Ashley sent me a screenshot. Brittany Walsh Watson versus Connor Watson. Court of Common Pleas. Lancaster County. Grounds, fraud. Irreconcilable differences. Brittany had deleted every social media account by March 11th. Instagram gone. Facebook gone. The Blessed Family posts vanished like they never existed. Carol Walsh posted one thing before deactivating her own accounts. I raised my daughter to be honest. I failed. I apologized to the Watson family. Then silence. Brittany moved back to Akron, Ohio. Her mother's house. 4.5 hours away. Connor moved into a studio apartment for $850 a month. Could barely afford it after the bank started garnishing his wages. The truck was repossessed in April. Claire Reynolds called me on March 2nd. The refinance is officially void. The loan doesn't exist. Your credit is clear. The bank has written off the loss and is pursuing your brother for the full amount plus fees. What about the criminal charges? Filed with the district attorney's office February 12th. Connor and Brittany are both facing multiple felony counts. Their lawyer is trying to negotiate a plea deal, but that'll take months. Could be June or later before it's resolved. The criminal case would take time. The system moved slowly. But the civil case, my house, my ownership, my rights, that was already resolved. Connor called me once from a gas station parking lot. "I hope you're happy," he said. The bitterness in his voice was thick. I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I'm not happy, Connor. But I'm not your victim anymore. There's a difference." I hung up. March 28th, 2026. 7:15 p.m. Dad called. "Wilda, it's Dad." His voice was small, broken. "I know I don't have the right to ask, but your mother and I need to know. Do we have to leave? Can we stay in the house?" I let the silence stretch. "We were wrong. About Connor. About you. About everything. We believed him because we wanted to believe our son was the man we hoped he'd be. But you were the one who protected us, who paid our debt, who gave us a place to live. And we threw you out." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I looked at the lease agreement Nathan had drafted. 1 year, $1,200 a month. Standard tenant terms. "Yes," I said. "You can stay, but not like before. Everything changes now. April 1st, 2026. I moved back into my house. My parents signed the lease at the kitchen table. Same table where Dad had told me to vacate my room. Same table where Brittany had called me a burden. Nathan Pierce was there. Jordan Mills, too. Witnesses. 1 year, I said. $1,200 a month. Rent due first of every month. You have your bedroom and shared access to common areas. My room is off limits. The office is off limits. The second floor bathroom is mine. This is my house, and we follow my rules now." Dad signed first. His hand shook. Mom signed next. Didn't look at me. "Thank you," Dad whispered. I didn't say, "You're welcome," because this wasn't a gift. This was a contract. A business arrangement. Landlord and tenants. Not mother and father and daughter. Not anymore. 3 rules, I said. 1. We don't discuss Connor unless I bring him up first. His name, his situation, his problems. Off limits. 2. This is a landlord-tenant relationship. The rent isn't negotiable. House repairs, improvements, decisions. Those are mine to make. 3. No guilt. No family should forgive speeches. No manipulation. You made your choice in November when you kicked me out. I'm making mine now by letting you stay. Mom nodded slowly. She looked older. Smaller. We'll follow your rules, Wilda. It's your house. For the first time in my life, she was right about something that mattered. We passed in hallways like roommates. Polite, distant, respectful. Dad said good morning. I said good morning back. Mom made coffee in the kitchen. I made my own upstairs. On May 1st, Dad slid an envelope under my bedroom door. Rent. On time. With a note. Thank you for letting us stay. I deposited the check. I kept the note this time. Not as forgiveness. As documentation. It wasn't the family I grew up with. It wasn't the family I'd wanted. But it was a family with boundaries. With respect. With rules that protected me instead of erasing me. And for the first time in 32 years, that was enough. 6 months later, September 2026, I got promoted. Senior accountant, 12% raise. Salary jumped from $62,000 to $69,500. I used part of it to refinish the second floor of my house. New hardwood floors, $8,500. Fresh paint, $1,200. The room that Connor and Brittany had claimed for their fake nursery became my home office. Oak desk, ergonomic chair, window overlooking the backyard. There was poetry in that. I started a vegetable garden. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs. Something growing, something new. My parents still lived downstairs, still paid rent, $1,200, every month, on time. We didn't have family dinners. We didn't have long conversations. We existed in the same space with clear boundaries. I didn't think about Connor much anymore. When I did, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt nothing. And that was how I knew I was healing. October 12th, 2026. Grandma's birthday. She would have been 93. I drove to Greenwood Memorial, 15 minutes from the house. I'd only been once since the funeral in 2018. 8 years. Her grave was simple, granite stone. Dorothy Campbell, 1933 to 2018. Beloved mother and grandmother. I sat on the grass next to her. 30 minutes. Just sitting. You knew, I said out loud. You knew exactly what they'd do. That's why you protected me. The wind moved through the trees. October leaves. Red and gold. The real inheritance wasn't the house. It was the knowledge that someone had seen me. Someone had valued me enough to plan 15 years ahead. Someone had made sure I wouldn't be erased. Grandma Dorothy had given me more than property. She'd given me proof that I mattered. I drove home from the cemetery. My home. The house Grandma gave me. The house I'd fought for. The house where I now lived on my own terms. And I wanted to tell you something. If you're in a family that treats you like you're invisible, document everything. Keep records. Save emails. Screenshot texts. Make copies of important papers. Protect yourself legally before you need to. Love doesn't mean letting people use you. Family doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. Grandma Dorothy taught me that. It took me 32 years, one eviction from my own house, and $36,000 in secret payments to fully understand. But I understand now. This was my story. Yours might look different. But the lesson is the same. The people who truly love you will protect you, not exploit you. And if you found something in this story that helped you see your own situation more clearly, you're not alone. You're not crazy. And you're worth protecting too.